Okay. Okay, everything good. So let me know if there's any problem on your end. You should see a slide and you should hear me. Okay. Um, so the exam preparation here. Okay, so Milo exam. It's going to be a Milo exam. So what I'll talk to you today for the next 25 minutes or so. And then I'll open up a bit at the end for Q&A. Okay, and then so the important part here, the exam, due to COVID, we cannot do an invigilated exam. So what that means that you're not going to go to exam of venue and sit there. So you should do exam. So most of you who are not a new student this semester will familiar with it. So essentially here, you need to access to Milo and you need to come and you will have a fixed time, okay, which I can tell you the time, but the time to show up on your timetable. Maybe already. Okay. Um, and basically, you just take the exam there. Okay. So the exam will be in the same set, same way that you're doing with assignment, which is you download the exam questions in Microsoft Word and you edit that document. And when you finish within the 2 hours, then you upload it back. Okay. So that means that there's a potential problem with the internet if you have problem with internet there. But remember, your test is not on Milo. Milo is simply you don't need to be on there for the throughout the process. The question one, the only thing will matter is that if you're unable to download the exam, okay, and or you're unable to upload your answer. Okay, but we'll talk about that. So So that means we're going to be a Milo exam. Okay. Second point here is that you should not plan to come to campus to do exam. I know in the Centennial building, there certain lab that's open, but you should not come to try to do exam in those campus or in that lab. Okay. An exam here would just simply be Microsoft Word. You're writing there. You might end up taking some photo of your storyboard and then upload it to Word, but nothing require computer lab to run. So you should prepare to fully at home, be undisturbed during those hours. And again, if I have session Q&A come to the end at the end. If you have any questions, you can ask them. Yeah. So the exam, typically this is not a practical, not a practice that we do. I tell you the exam date because I'm not hosting the exam. Usually lecturer not hosting the exam, but in this case I am. So I can tell you this. But even this is that means someone could be changing the exam, and then I would get told, and therefore your job is to make sure you check on your timetabling of your exam. Uh, if my information is correct, it's Saturday, 31st of October. Okay, so Halloween days at 1 p.m. Okay. Okay, so this one, the schedule is the exam going to be available just as one of the assignment. Okay, assignment tab. Okay, so that one is going to be just one assignment like assignment four, but this one going to be assignment one. There's going to be a final exam at 5 minutes before the 1 o'clock, so that will be visible. I will create it beforehand, but I make them invisible. So I make them invisible at 12:55. Okay, and then that's when you can start uploading. So the reason and then but actual final exam reading time is start at 1 o'clock, 5 minutes after. The reason I have 12:55 and 1 o'clock, so that is actually in case you have problem with the internet and some issue there, so it wouldn't be kind of immediately become a major problem. Okay. Hopefully those 5 minutes kind of take care of those not a major problem the student you guys might find. Okay. We have 103 students, so hopefully that would take care of most of it, if not all. I hope. And then reading time, so that's standard for our exams, 1 to 1:15, and one, so that's 15 minutes of reading time. So that's when what I'll do here, open up my Zoom, okay, which is my consultation Zoom room. You can come in, you can ask me any question there. I turn a private sessions on, so you can come in like you raise your hand when you're sitting down in the exam, and then I'll come over and talk to you. But in this case, it will be done in a Zoom. Okay. And then so that's why you should make sure that your Milo is working, Zoom is working. Okay. And then the exam time, the next thing is, so then you're gonna grab the exam, Microsoft Word assignments of the exam, okay, and then you will work with that for 2 hours, okay, up to 2 hours, exam time. And you can upload anytime. You can upload before, but the Milo assignments will be closed at 5 minutes after. Again, the same motivate, same thing. It's 5 minutes extras, not for your assignment time, but for in case that you have problem with uploading and things like that. So that's just trying to help out with some potential issues with the submission, upload and downloading. Okay. There's a couple of students who has labs, so I'll talk to you individually what to do with that. But for others that has no learning access plan approved, you basically follow this timeline. Okay. Exam documents. So this is a downloadable, as I said before. Okay. Downloadable Microsoft Words. Okay, so exam question, your exam should be typed into the exam is question itself. You just edit them and then upload, save it back, and then send it back up. Okay, into the same submission box that you download the exam. Okay, okay, so that should be clear enough. Okay, nothing fancy. Okay, this one is a bit of a big issues. Okay, plagiarism. So for those who are not familiar with this, is that its simple term is you get cheating. Okay, you're cheating your exam. Okay, so you are around our first bullet point first. Okay, you're allowed to refer to external, even though this is a control exam, but essentially it's an open book exam. Okay. So you can refer to internet, external resource, provide reference. So this is the same practice that you have done throughout the semester with all the assignment. Okay. However, do not copy and paste content from the reference directly. So you should write on your own interpretation of the content. Okay, even though you cite their work, it doesn't mean that you just copy them. Okay, copy them directly. If you really have to do that, the practice is to use quote and unquote. Okay, but it got to be a special sentence. You're not just gonna quote and unquote the whole paragraph, and your answer, total answer, is like a paragraph and a half. That was just simply seeing that okay, your work itself is very minimal. Okay, so you won't get a good mark there. Okay. So the individual assessment task. Okay, so unlike the assignments, okay, you cannot, you should not uh, communicate with your friend in any means. Not social media chat, not anything, not no, nothing. So you should just treat like exams. That's why you should find a quiet space that you can work this out for 2 hours. The third one here is we will turn the software up, Plagiarism software that UTAS have running in Milo called Turnitin. This software will look at all your assignments submissions and compare among your submission. Okay, this semester and last semester, which is the first time we run the online exam. That means it will give us the output of the software. The software will give us the output of similarity and what is similar to. So you don't want to have your exam turn out to be paragraph by paragraph exactly the same with your friend. Even though in the exam preparation, you could study as a group, you can study with your close friend, it's okay. But when it comes down to when you write them, okay, so don't just copy and paste of what everyone has a copy. In a normal exam, used to be a practice that you allow to get one sheet A4 with your written note or type note. It turned out that it's actually have a master copy, which is that actually being copied and used throughout many students. Nothing wrong with that. That just means you study together. I put it in the positive way. Okay. However, it's not a good idea to be just writing out from your that note that you study as a group together because it will look like you basically copy each other work. Okay, so I avoid you doing that. You should not encourage you not to study together. I think that's a good idea. Okay. But when you come down to write your own work, you should really like write your own interpretation of your work in exam. Okay. So hopefully this is clear enough. So you just do your own work and then you'd be fine. This is a issue that when if you have difficulty. Okay. So first you will perform troubleshooting on outline in the next slide. Okay. But if the next slide doesn't help you, I can go to next slide first. Okay. Troubleshooting here. Okay. So this one is basically first thing is take a screenshot of your problem if you can. Okay, so in case that problem gonna cause you to delay your exam or cause the exam to or cost your exam time for like 10, half an hour or something, you should take a screenshot of your problem. If your computer is a problem, then grab your phone and take a photo of your using your phone as evidence. Okay, that's a number one. Try to establish the evidence. Okay, that there was what symptom of the problem. Okay, we're not asking you to solve the problem. I mean, you're probably going to try to do the second, the third step. Okay. Second is close out Milo browser and then restart your computer. Okay, I would say that this is a recommendation by college, but I would say you start out the browser first before you go with restart your computer. If the start browser doesn't help, then go straight to restart your computer. And if closing and everything like that in step 2 doesn't work, then you need to contact me and also provide details in the screenshot of what's happened and things like that. Okay. Remember, during the exam time, you don't need to have an online on. It is not an online quiz. You don't have to have a. So once you're able to download the exam question, and that's it. You don't need to be online to another tool. You don't need to be able to communicate to Milo during that time, but you should have internet. So in case that you want to search something, write about something, things like that. Okay, so that's the first step. So troubleshooting, if you have first thing. So hopefully close browser and things like that. So you should get a feel for that anyway if you go to Milo if you have any problem with it. Make sure your words is working. And the next thing here, next bullet point will ask you that you have a Zoom should be ready to. Okay. If the problem persists, okay, during the exam time, so that's is a when start open 5 minutes before 1 until the closing of submission box at 20 past 3 on Saturday. So then you need to email me, okay, with details. Okay, and that time I make sure I be available the whole time. Okay, I be kind of virtually sitting on exam with you. Okay, so that means any problem, email me. I should get there. So there are 3 ways to contact me. One is Zoom. Okay, that's my Zoom room. Okay, so that's my. I will always say it's my consultation room. Same. Okay, so you can click on that link, or you can email me. Okay, in case that your Zoom is also a problem. Okay, you can email me using your mobile phone. Or the worst thing, the last thing, you can just call my office number. Okay, so that is my Skype for business number. So you call on that, then it's in case that you're completely has problem with internet. Okay, but remember, this kind of thing is that it's going to be investigation afterward. It's not just flagging that I have internet problem for my convenience. It's going to be investigation into that. What are evidence of that problem, things like that. So I think the university will looking to have evidence from your internet provider that have issues with that. Okay. So you got to be sure that when you do any kind of unit this semester, you all do online exam anyway. Okay, so that then you need to have some preparation for that. What's the backup plan? In your case here, the very easy because the exam document is not big, so therefore you can think about hotspot from your phone. Okay, that should be the more than what you ever need for this unit. Uh, However, the computer problem is it may not solve using your phone, but if you have problem with internet, you may concern your internet provider may not be stable, then you use the hotspot. It's not going to cost much. It's just a single word document with no graphic on it, so it's really tiny. Okay, and and the third point here, okay, is after the exam, then you can email me. Okay, okay. So, but try to you need to strictly follow the timeline. Okay, I'll highlight that again in the exam, heading into exam. Okay, this one I will cover. All right, before this, go into a material here. I'll stop this and then I'll still recording here. But is there anyone want to ask me now about anything that I talk about so far? The next slide here will be about materials. If you can use the voice to ask, that would be great. So I don't have to exit this mode. Any question? All right, all good. So moving on here. Exam material. Okay, so I put in the exam, past exam, just this morning on Milo. So you should be able to see that. Okay. I'll talk about that quickly later, in later slides. So there's a total 120 marks for the exam. There are 4 questions. This is equal to 30% of your total marks. So with assignments coming at 70% in semester. Okay. There's 4 main questions, each with 30 marks. So that's 120 total. Okay. So each question consists of 3 sub-questions, A, B, Z, with 9 and 12 marks respectively. Okay, so A is always 9, B always 9, and C always 12. Okay. Time management. So these are 2 hours. 2 hours. The reason it's 120 marks, so it is a one-on-one map with 120 minutes. Okay. So therefore, you're approximately looking to spend approximately 1 minute per 1 mark. Okay, for each mark. So if you have question A and B, each with 9 marks, so you should spend roughly around 9 minutes. Okay, so that's just to help you gauge. For the question number C is 12 marks, so you're just looking to spend about 12 minutes. So that's just to try to help you with the management of your time. Okay. One of the things that having problem with the students and whether online or before online is that sometimes the one that costs the student the most in the exam is that they don't answer anything. Okay, so they just leave it blank. So therefore, I can't really give any points. So they just be zip 0. So that means I suspect it's because students are some spend heavily time in other topic that they think their note or their study notes are more tailored to. Okay, to that, and then they just leave the other blank. Okay, so that's a dangerous way to go because oftentimes people come to close. Like last time, we have 5 students fail exam. Okay, so that means that not a good strategy. So the strategy is try to cover the exam or thoroughly. Okay, even though some exam you cover more, some question you feel more to it, but you should cover all the exam questions. Okay. Contents. Okay, so this is from content from lecture, activity from the assignment. Okay, so however, second bullet point there, we won't cover any technical on the Unity. Okay, we won't be asking you how to program Unity or how to do anything with Unity size of it. Okay. However, design part, how you design your interaction, how you design your questions, anything they experience there. So as I say in the first unit review slides, is that there was a combination, the bridging between the content from lecture and into the content into the tutorial. That's by design. So you should feel they're kind of overlapping. And third point here, I would just keep re-emphasizing that it's your responsibility to check the time. Okay, I'll be there to host the exam. Okay, so I will check my time too, but I think I got it confirmed. But in case that they told me in a couple of weeks that it's something changed, but usually it's not, but it might be the case. But make sure you check. And past exam here, I only put it 1 because the exam up until this year, semester 1, this unit offer in Launceston, and that's what the exam is a past exam for. Right? And in semester 2 offer in Hobart with this semester. Before this year, the exam are different form. Type exam questions are different. I completely rewrite the whole exam last semester, which I still maintain for this semester, the same exam, the new format exam that I used to accommodate first more integrated with what you do in the tutorial, not of course excluding the Unity technical thing about design, and also the lecture slide to be better informed with the lecture contents, and also to accommodate the change from moving from 50% until last year of exam mark to just 30% worth of exam. Okay. So therefore, the only exam that you should looking for is the semester one. Again, format exactly the same, which I will tell you next. Okay, it's now available on Moodle. Okay, so for exam, so questions. Okay, so the topic here I give you from the get-go. There's no secret there. So first question will hit on you on virtual interface. Second question will hit on you on virtual reality, and then the next one will be AR, and the fourth one is a combination of a few things, few concepts: interaction, collaboration, authoring. Okay. So that's the four topics. So you don't have to, hopefully that helped you focus a little bit. Now just go back here a little bit. So you pay attention to the last row here, final exam. Okay. So that's is actually intended learning outcome one, 30%, intended learning outcome two is another 30%, and 40% here is learning intended outcome number three. Okay, that's what the main driver design for my 9-point, 9-point, and 12-point of A, B, C subsection. Okay, because that's 9-point was 30% of 30% of the exam. Okay, which is 30 points. So that's a 9, and the 40% is 12 points. Okay, so therefore, the question here is really target on learning outcome one. Question B is target on learning outcome two. Question C is target on learning outcome three. Okay, so I'll spend a few minutes on this slide. Okay, let's go with number one first. Okay, intended learning outcome one, IL1. Discuss the need and the use of VR and AR, whatever technology there are. So as I move between topics, okay, that question stick for everything. Okay, so I'll use that for virtual interface. I use that for VR, AR. Okay, so basically discuss the need and the use of technology. Not necessarily why we. The type of question would be like, what are these concepts? Oftentimes, is a well-known concept in the lecture slide. Okay, and then maybe ask, and then usually most of the question will follow with this. Okay, it's not necessarily everything all four questions the same, but they kind of aim at the intended learning outcomes the same per focus. The second question, the more relevant, is that how does certain concepts help certain conditions or certain applications? So it's just to kind of try to draw how well you understand what are the needs and the use of technologies are, which is really the core of the intended learner number one. Okay. Question number B, question B is 9 points, which is 30%. Okay, this is about evaluate feature and functional interface. Okay, we're not talking about usability. Okay, we're just talking about how would you evaluate. If someone asked you to evaluate some application, how would you go? How would you idea of evaluating it? Okay, so the type of question be like, what feature or particular application? Oftentimes, I draw that one from the lecture when I talk about certain situation. For VR, for example, that's I'm not saying it's going to be in there, but it's something that you should familiar with if you go through all my lectures contents. And I ask about feature of that are the most relevant, okay, to the application. Okay, so then you'll be kind of thinking about what sort of things that you'll be trying to evaluate. That's the starting point evaluation. Okay, and then how would you evaluate? So that's a second question there, quite specific. How would you evaluate that? Okay, so this oftentimes students don't quite see that. Oftentimes miss the questions because they oftentimes answer one but not the other. Okay, so this is where you want to be very clear. They're all oftentimes related. The reason I use a two question oftentimes because so that you can kind of divide your answer. It's kind of help guide you the way you answer them. So my best is try to focus your answer in one question and move on to the next question. So that allow your thinking process to kind of separate rather than you have one idea and you just try to write your idea out. Because oftentimes that will land with you missing some point that I was asking for. Sometimes I even ask about provide two example, provide two reason, things like that. I could have been in that, but it's not all the questions like that. But the focus it should be around evaluate features. Okay. And question C is a biggest point, 40 points, 12 points. Yeah, sorry. This is a developed interface application. Okay, so this one is centered around the interface area, design process. Okay, not just developing Unity, as I said before the beginning. Okay, so like for example, you will design certain VI application and make it clear, aim to do certain thing. Okay, so you will basically a part exam you will design into specific step into that human design interface. In the past exam, in the first exam I designed last semester, I have them all do 1 to 4, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think the feedback got student was a bit too much, okay, which I seem to agree. So this time I ship and change. So not all the question will aim at the same step. So depend on what context I provide to you. I might already cover step 1 for you. I ask you to do step 2. So you need to be clear what step you're jumping into. Okay, and then it's and also for example, if you are doing step 4, then of course you're expecting, which is a design interaction. You should really have a, um, uh, the storyboarding and everything. Okay, that you can explain to it. Not all of them. Last time was a bit much, so I knocked it back. So this time you will find that some of them was only asked for some step. Okay, but no step go beyond step 4. Okay, so in step 5 you start developing and actually evaluating, which you're not going to be able to do that in exam. Okay, but so that means that this part become kind of a core part of your exam. So hopefully you get the idea. So if you go to this one, so this idea, so I should basically use similar pattern, apply to each one of these concepts, except number 4. Number 4 was a bit mixed. So I jump A and maybe I ask about certain thing, B I ask about thing, but the core concept is still learning outcome is the same. Okay. So my last slide here is just a bit of tip. Okay. I think I've said this a few times already. So read the question carefully. Okay. So oftentimes, I think it's a common mistake is students just not addressing all the questions that sit in the A, for example, or B or C. They tend to just kind of think the question asked and they just kind of try to build a solution for what they think the question asks. Try to be very deliberate into the questions. Okay. Should be written in the essay form. This is number 2. Okay. So this should be in a persuasive writing, provide with evidence. Okay. So in this case, you not necessarily have to go and search internet. Okay. So this should be well articulated in your head already. In the from reading the slide, understand, maybe re-listen to some of the lectures. You should be in the head already. Okay. I'm not asking you to go out. No exam question. I'm gonna ask you and search internet. Okay, so essentially it should be idea here, but just well, we're saying it essentially is an open exam, so I have to basically cover that in case that you want to wandering outside, but there's no exam that asks you to go outside. I ask you to provide or design a solution that outside of it. If anything, I practically provide an exam already. If you're looking at have a quick look into the exam shortly. Important part. So anything that you do here, so you should not be really solely rely on your subjective type of writing, subjective opinion. Like I think this is good. I think this is this. You should be more reporting that has some support. That has a decent supporting. Okay, so drawing from a multiple example is a good way to go. Like yeah, and for example, you try to make one point, but you remember this from a few different examples. Some of them might be contradict one another, which make a very good writing, a rich writing. So which is a good idea. But try to look at how you write, how manipulate your write. So some of those to get a good, decent mark in assignment 2 already. That's the indication of how I will read them. So this one is readable. I thought I was thinking of moving this because before it was just a handwriting in a normal exam. But in this case, the same. Since you are running on Microsoft Words, you should make sure that you have no particularly grammar checks or anything. There's no typo or anything. Make it clean, looking neat. It's always nice to see that. Even though, just like assignments, assignment I do look for them. A typo, not typo. If it's so bad in typo, then you get not a good marks. Okay. In exam, I don't particularly look for that. Okay. However, I do expect most people can use a microphone correction for words and things like that before you submit. So it shouldn't be too. So you should be able to read them. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay. All right. So this one is my last slide. Okay. So let me pull up this one. It's still seen by this one, right? So I'll go here. Let me just change to this one. Okay, I need to get out of here quickly. All right, so you should see this past exam. All right, so this is exam. You should see exam now. Okay, on Milo. Okay, so I'm showing you as well. So what I said, this is a semester one this year. 120 marks. Okay, the topic's the same. Okay, I said before, I maintain the main concept the same way. So introductory to the sections is all identical. However, I think it's 80 to 90% of the questions are changed. Okay, even though the tone doesn't change, but the actual focus of it changed. Okay, the specific case scenario changed. Okay. For example, number one here was target to the use and the need of technology. So you can see discuss one where applicable. So that's just trying to get you to demonstrate that you understand what technology is. Okay, and that's looking at a concept well known in the that I just talked about today as well. Okay, important. How we evaluate the features, and I said before, this is a typical main question. Sorry, my highlight doesn't work well. So how would you evaluate the features? All right. So in this case, is that how would you table that? What the step to it? Okay. So if you pay attention to this, oftentimes students are quite a bit missed. If you look at this, you might just say how evaluate. You might think, oh, how I evaluate the virtual interface? No, you have to read completely. How you evaluate feature on the experience side of interface. Okay, not on the technology side. So you have to think about that. Okay, you have to aim focus on that. Okay. And number C here is about design. So oftentimes I design virtual interface. Okay, so aim to improve learning, certain application, in this case a piano. You need to define things like that. But now I think I remove this part mostly. Okay, so in the beginning I say, oh, you define your own, I give you the scope. Now, no, I don't. Now I actually defined it. Either I defined it, or I asked you to actually specifically do that. I won't do this by default, but this part is still there. Okay, um, and you can see here in the past last semester exam, I have them all done the fourth step. Okay, and do the same. I think it turned out to be a bit too much for the 2-hour exam because I might have underestimated the time that you need to think about solution, not just to write, because the design part here is you have to use to the idea. In this case, a piano lesson or what is piano lesson. You have to think about the idea before you proceed to the concept of the design. Okay. So in this part, I basically divide them up. Sometimes you get only have asked to do one step, and I explicitly said in there skip what step. Okay, so but you will never get past step 4. Okay, whatever you do, okay? Because there's no practical way to do anything beyond the step 4. So this is the same thing. Okay, you can see the question's almost the same. Concept now changed to height. This fear of public speaking, and then there was evaluation components of these. Okay. So they all kind of you will get a feel of that they are kind of the same. Okay, it's looking at the same. And then this is a learning outcome number 3, and you can see here. So I give you a specific more example, a more specific case. So in this case, a tourist doing such a things, and typically I ask you to define in that exam. In this exam, I won't. I'll basically define those. Okay, define those and make it very clear, and then or specifically ask you to do just that. Okay, I won't do the whole process. Get you to think too much, too hard for the open questions. Okay, so hopefully that helped. Okay, that would allow you a 12 mark to be a kind of good example of opportunity for you to demonstrate your learning outcome in that space. So the AR, the same. Okay, understand technologies, what features, how that interface AR help advertisement. Okay, so this is a people can take a look what how the AR help, what features are most relevant. So that you have to understand what they are. So in this case, what you should have is that when you talk about Lego, you have to identify where are them in class. Okay, as I say here, it's in class. So that means you just look for those slides, like for recording. Oh, this is a Lego look like, and then you go. So I think that you have to be familiar with your contents. Okay, so don't completely build up from your memory. Okay, it could be wrong there. And again, things here. Okay, and evaluate the features. Okay, so technology is more relevant to the effectiveness. So oftentimes I use that so to try to get you to think what's important for that application. Okay, what are the important part? The application here is annotates is the key, or the actual digital information itself is the key. So a combination of both. So this is where I like to see your thinking on that. Okay, there's no one just like a lot of contents in our assignments. There's no one winning solution. There's only one that the good one, or the one that missed the target. Okay, you want to be the one and the good one. Yeah. So in this case, again, give you scenarios. This time I use a little more example that I find is very interesting. So you might not see them before. Okay, you might not heard from my lecture before. Okay, so this one oftentimes you will heard me. Most of the exam last year, last semester was fully formed, so I use more familiar. But this time is actually I use the one that I not often talk in my lecture, but it's quite interesting. Yeah, quite interesting. You might find, okay, well, this might be good. So hopefully, that will stimulate your idea a little bit. Okay, because the purpose is try to get you to see whether you have giving a problem, can you decide within 10 minutes. You're not actually decide to try to find a solution, but you should get close, get in the direction in which this will require to do something there. So those human computer design process should help you thought process to be kind of scaffolding leading up to address that issues. So that means that if you've done your assignment 2, assignment 3, assignment 4 right, in the right way, I mean, you exercise that part of your design, in your thinking part, in your thinking head, I think you will find the exam was quite a bit of kind of you're well prepared for the exam, for the type exam. And as I said before, the question 4 on mixed issues. Okay, so authoring is one here, tangibles here, collaboratives are here, but they all maintain this form structure going to the exam, going to that. So that means it address in, intended learning outcome 1. It's always 1. So you're talking about the difference between authoring in VR and AR. Okay. So that we just talk about that into textualized spatial stuff that I talk about in diagram. Okay. And then B here is tangible. We can look at different issues here. So um, what feature of tangible are more relevant to effectiveness? As I say, the trick for this is to look what the focus of application. Okay. If it's application in class, then you go back to the class selection node and see what they are and look what their designs are. Oftentimes, they all has there in the link. Okay. But if it's not in class, so that means that I'll probably I will have to provide a little bit more context into that writing, just like number C here. Oftentimes it's not really specifically one case in class, but it's kind of more generic. So I provide a lot more context there. Okay. So this one has to do with our current situation, collaboration activity, Zoom activity, things like that. What could be help? Remember, this is not asking about AR, VR particularly. Right? So question C here. So don't necessarily go, oh, okay, future classroom people will wear VR. Oh, it's okay too. It's okay. It's not a big problem. It's not bad. But if you just fixate on that, and then you're not fully understand what VR is for, and then it will come out not very good answer. Okay. That means that you have to think about your idea first. What to do? What can we do? You can use this as a kind of practice. Okay, practice after you review the lecture and some of the idea what you learn from the assignment work, things like that, and then you come and use this as a practice. You might find that there's some recording on university library on the previous year before this year exam, but I don't think that's going to help you much because the exam in that format is different. It was 50% exam, and the exam are not. I would say this one is much closer to the content. So, but if you want to have a look, you can look. But you might find that some of the contents that I talk about in the previous year report exam might not be covered this year. So okay, because some of them I refresh my contents from time to time. So some of those, so that's why I'm not trying to put them out there. So you might end up asking, so, oh, these ideas, I don't know, not know about this one. So you don't have to worry about that. You stay within the one exam there. So another thing is assignments. So assignment marking. So I should get all assignment 2 done in the next couple of days. That's still my goal for the marking of your technical assignment. And then I'll move on quickly to assignment 3. I'm still thinking what to do with. Should I just do one together, like not break into 2 parts? I think that's probably the best idea. So that when I release the mile assignment 3, you just have complete package. Okay. And then basically all assignment got to be done to you before by next Friday, 23rd. Okay, so that means you will get a 1 full week to look at the feedback and have any questions and things like that. So let me know before the exam. Okay, and if you have any question on the exam mark or anything, you can always ask me. You don't have to ask me all completion by the exam date. You can ask me up to all the way up to the 10th of November. The next day I have to submit my marks. So that means the question need to come before that. So if it's turn out that I make mistake or something like that, we need to adjust. We can adjust it up until November 10. I think 11 is when my mark is due to the college or to the discipline. All right. So hopefully that's everything. So any questions? Open the floor up. It'd be good if you are anyone up to share your video. Thank you, Josh. Anyone want to share video? Because I keep making comment to my colleagues that now all my colleagues turn to 3D person into 2D screen Zoom every time we meet. But the students actually turn into 1D, one directional, one dimension, because now you have no video. You just simply a name. So now I find it difficult to relate to my student these days. Yeah.
I do have a microphone though. Hello.
Hello. Is that Josh? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure we see each other before. Anyway.
I think I saw you during the practicals for the VR and AR.
Yep. Okay, so that's good. Yes, so the practical one should see me because I'm the only one run the practical.
Yeah.
Let me shut this